Michael Ayala. I want to thank you very much for joining us. Now, we all know that you can go on the internet and find all kinds of information on buying and selling a home, and you may think that you can go about the transaction all on your own. Well, you may want to think again, and our guests are going to tell us why. We have with us John Heithouse. He is Chief Marketing Officer for MRIS, and also Scott Avery, he is President of Avery Hess Realtors. And between them, over 60 years experience in the real estate market. Really a pleasure to have you guys with us today.
Thanks so much.
All right, I appreciate it. You know, as I said, a lot of folks go out and they look on the internet, plenty of information out there, and you can think or be fooled into thinking that you can go out there and take care of this whole thing on your own. But that's flawed thinking, isn't it?
It really is. The internet is a convenient tool in this process, and all of us have benefited from it in different aspects of our life.
Sure.
And there's an old clothing company called Sims that used to be in business here, and they used to say an educated consumer is our best customer.
Right.
So I think real estate professionals understand that. The problem is that you need somebody who can kind of digest and synthesize that information and apply it to your specific circumstances. And you can't do that for yourself. I mean, you can't be your own physician. You can't be your own lawyer.
Yeah.
So that's really the challenge that I think a lot of people are facing today.
Yeah, that's really a good analogy. You don't want to look at the information about your health and decide what's wrong with you. You need a doctor to do that. And you also have a great analogy, right, Scott?
I agree wholeheartedly with John when he says that the consumer today, because of the online information, is so much better educated in the real estate business than they ever were before. But I'm convinced that the best of the best realtors, they're bringing the value added. And there's two things that I've always said about great real estate professionals vis-a-vis that what the online world doesn't offer. Real estate agents bring the artistic side to the transaction, and real estate agents are the greatest choreographers I've ever seen in my life. And by choreographer, I mean that real estate has a lot of moving parts to get from point A, contract, to point B, settlement, and the realtor's job is to, through instinctiveness, intuitiveness, to anticipate those problems, be an advocate for their client, and get to a successful close.
Yeah. I think one of the main reasons that someone may stay away or decide not to use a realtor is to stay away from that commission, save some money. But in the end, you probably end up losing more times than not, right?
You do. And the National Association of Realtors, every year they do a home buyer and a home seller survey, and this 2011 is the most recent stat. They showed that people that listed their home for sale with a realtor actually realized a much higher return on the sales price and the time investment. There's also things about disclosure that are mandatory. They're legal requirements that sellers have to engage in. And on your own, you really can't do those things. You don't have the proper forms. You don't know how to file them properly to make sure that the transaction's legal.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was in that sell it on your own market at one time when things were hot. You thought you could do everything on your own. And what happens is you find there are a lot of sharks out there who want to take advantage of the uninformed when you get into those transactions. So tell me about some of that value that a realtor can bring.
Well, the automated valuation models that are online, a consumer can access those, and they have a greater degree of discrepancy. A great real estate agent in this artistic side, they will bring their knowledge of the marketplace to help really get to a narrower range when you're speaking about sellers, and even for buyers who want, is this a good value when they're purchasing a home. So just in talking valuation, the realtor will help define that value on what makes this house a greater value than this house over here.
And there's another element, too, I think that's important from a buyer perspective. We have in the D.C. metro area a dearth of inventory. We're about 25% down year to year from last year. So what we're seeing now is a return to bidding wars. And if you're buying on your own without the benefit and counsel of a tenured real estate professional, you can find yourself overbuying the house and putting yourself into an adverse financial position from the get-go. And that's a really real-time live example of how you need a tenured professional by your side.
Particularly in light of the new contract in the state of Virginia, that's much more a seller-friendly contract and a conveyance of properties more as is. So the agent really needs to be diligent in looking out for the purchaser's interest in a contractual situation such as we have now, which is much more a seller-friendly contract.
All right. Well, John and Scott, I want to thank you very much for joining us today and bringing
you,
your
Michael.
perspective to us today. And again, for you out there, so many more positives to working with a real estate professional than negatives. So you definitely want to look into that if you're buying and selling a home. I'm your host, Michael Ayala. Please tune in for further episodes of